and the primal origin raised high beyond all things. Pour forth a ray of your brightness into the darkened places of our mind. Disperse from our soul the twofold darknesses into which we were born, sin and ignorance. You make eloquent the
So some of the new faces. Now we were talking about mostly how the church began. This is in preparation, of course, for the more deeper study of Bible. We have already taken some of the classes on the formation of the Bible, and now we are studying something about the formation of the church, how the church was formed, and thus that will answer many questions, not only the Bible, also our relation with the other churches, Protestants, or the Pentecostals and all these people. That will really help us. That's why I'm just taking on the formation of the church, because that is the most, what we study most of the time Bible, sure, but about the church to which we belong, we don't know. Practically we don't know anything. What we know is we come for the Mass, we celebrate the Mass, receive communion, go. And when some people, for example, the Protestants or the Pentecostals or the Jehovah's Witnesses, these people challenge us. We don't have answers. We don't have answers. Many times. And we feel a kind of helplessness, or a kind of what's called inadequacy, to their questions. That's why we belong to the Catholic Church. That is the question, fundamental question what we are dealing with. And I think that is these classes will be almost like a historical survey on how the church was formed and how the church became like this today. Okay? So this is only, I have already told it, I see some new faces, that's why I'm just telling again. We have already seen the calendars, things like that, what we every day we're using in our day-to-day life. And why this calendar is called Gregorian calendar, we have already seen. And that's something interesting for us now, because that's the Pope who really initiated it. And now the calendar we use, we call it the Gregorian calendar. Okay, now some of the backgrounds. We have already seen this political background, that is the Roman Empire. They were the Roman Caesars. They were ruling the whole world, and Palestine or Israel, it was under the Roman rule, and we call it Pax Romana. Pax Romana means the Roman peace. So they conquered a place and allowed the king to rule, but provided they accept the sovereignty of the Caesar and pay the tax. And in return, the Roman Empire offered them what? The security. Security, that means nobody will attack that small kingdom. That is called Pax Romana. Pax means peace in Latin. Pax.
P-A-X.
Pax. Pax Romana. That is Pax, pacis. From that word comes pacification. No? Pacification. These are Roman, the Latin words. So, Pax Romana. And already when Jesus was born, the Roman emperor was Caesar Augustus, no? Augustus, who asked for a census, no? Yeah. And who was the ruler of Palestine? It was Herod. I told you, Herod. Especially something about Herod. This Herod, Herod the Great, we call Herod the Great. And this Herod is not the one who was ruling when Jesus was killed. There was another Herod, no? Yes. And Pilate sent Jesus to Herod. Yes. Pilate sent Jesus to Herod. Because he was coming from Judea, no? But that Herod is, that when Jesus died, the Herod who was ruling was the son of the Herod when Jesus was born, who killed the infants. And this Herod is called Herod the Great, not because he killed the infants, but he was he was called great by Israel because he built the temple. He did many great things for these people, and he really built, means the rebuilt or extended, renovated the what's called the Jerusalem temple.
That's the second Herod or the first?
The first Herod.
The first Herod.
He is called Herod the Great.
He's the one that killed the infants.
Yeah, the infants.
Okay, it was Herod Antipas,
That is his son.
Who was at the death of Christ.
Death of Christ.
Okay.
So this Herod the Great had 3 sons, who is Herod the Antipater, second Archelaus, and third Philip. And when Herod the Great died, he divided, by his own last will, he divided his kingdom into 3 parts. One part ruled by his son Herod the Antipater, the second Archelaus, and the third one Philip. This Philip is the one who is mentioned in Bible, who killed, no, not Philip, this Philip was the one who is mentioned in the gospel, whose wife,
Why did you kill John the Baptist?
yeah, whose wife was Herodias, no? Yes. She was taken by who?
Antipas.
Herod. So the Herod, the Antipas, he took his own brother's wife. Herodias, no? And Herodias was, willing to that. That's why, that's not by force. I think mutual agreement there was. And this Salome was the son of Philip, no? I think. And when, I think so, I'm not so sure about it. I did not look into exactly this Salome who danced. So that was the son of, daughter of Salome. No, this Herodias. Okay? Anyway, one thing is clear, all these things are mentioned in Bible. These are history. And the second one, Archelaus, he had a what's called a tragic end. When he was ruling the central part, that is Judea. And when he had some problem with the Roman Empire, and he was deposed. When Jesus went to Egypt, to escape from Herod the Great, he was, ruling. When Jesus returned from Egypt, it was already, Archelaus was in the power. That's why there is a mention in Bible, when they returned in Judea, so they heard that Archelaus was ruling the kingdom. They went to Nazareth. Yes, there is the reference in the Bible. they went to Nazareth, so that he was called Nazarene. That's a prophecy fulfilled. It is in the Bible. It was already, the king was in Judea, the king was Archelaus. But he was then deposed by the Roman emperor, and instead of a king, Rome instituted or assigned a governor. Thus came Pontius Pilate. He was not a king exactly. He was a Roman governor, was a representative of Roman governor. We can say a kind of Washington DC like, no? The Washington DC has no independent, it's not an independent state, no? It is directly under the federal government, no? It's a federal government. So it's directly under federal government. Like that, Judea at that time, so put directly under the Roman rule. So, and there was a governor as a representative of the Roman emperor. It was Pontius Pilate. Okay, that was how when Jesus was, when he started what's called the public ministry. So understood a little bit of history at that time. That's all already in the Bible. There is nothing I have added. It's only just explanation made a little more understandable. That's all. Then another thing we have to understand. This time we see during the time of Jesus, there were many kinds of people. The Pharisees, the Sadducees, and what we call the scribes, and all these people. No. So who are these people? That we have to understand a little bit more. That is to understand Bible. That would be very good. So how these people come into. Yeah, that's mostly a kind of a birthright, but it's also something else deals with. The most important thing for a Jew is the Torah. You know what you mean by Torah? It is the law. The law. Now the first 5 books. So that constitutes for them the most important, the Word of God. Of course, they accept the prophets and all those things, but Torah means most important. And still is. The attitude towards Torah, the law, towards the law is different among the people, among the Jews. That means, attitude means how to interpret these laws, the laws. It is different. That means there are liberals, there are conservatives, there are literalists, and all these people. You understand? Yes, that made real difference among the people. And to say something about the Torah, we have to understand a little more further. That means there is the Word of God, which we call it Torah, no? The Bible, Torah. And in which there are so many laws. So all these laws are collected under 6 or in one book. And that book is called Mishnah. Mishnah is not the Word of God, but it is the collection of the laws. Mishnah. Mishnah. That is the legal codification of the Jewish law. So Bible, of course, in Bible the laws are scattered. In 5 books, the laws are scattered. And these laws are collected, codified in a law book. Okay, understand? This collection is under 6 headings. 6 headings. 6 headings. The one is, for example, so it is the agricultural laws. Agricultural law. What do you mean by agricultural law? There is a law among the, for example, just an example of this. There is a law that the first fruit should be given to God. No? All the first fruits are given to or offered to the temple. Even of man, even of the humans, all the firstborns are offered to the temple. That means not killed, but there should be, that's why Jesus was taken to temple, and as a part of offering, they can offer maybe, a dove when they are poor, or what's called a sheep, or if they are rich, they can also give an oxen, like that, no? So, agricultural law. The second section we call, see Sabbath laws. Sabbath. 1B, no? On 1B, no? 2, yeah. Sabbath laws. Sabbath laws, you see, there are so many Sabbath laws. One should not work. That is the primary law. But there are, together with, that can, you can work, or, you have to go to temple, or, synagogue and things like that, So there are Sabbath laws. Then the third section.
Father, excuse me. Sabbath law is, Sabbath is is that the sixth or the seventh day?
The seventh day.
The seventh day.
6 days you can work.
That's why in the SDA, Father, the Seventh Day Adventists, they consider Saturday as the seventh day, because that's what in the calendar. The first day is Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah. That's okay. That's all. That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were confused, including me, that
No.
7 days.
Why we have taken Sunday?
Because of
We have already explained.
Christ.
Because it was the resurrection of Christ.
The resurrection.
And we, take it, that is the most important day for Christians, because that day is the resurrection of the Lord. And we celebrate it. We are no more Jews to celebrate Sabbath day. We are new covenant people with the risen Lord. And it was on Sunday.
They were saying that it was Constantine
That is that's
the
true.
Lord's day from
Not
Sunday to Saturday.
No.
I mean from Saturday to
No. Saturday is important only for Jews. That is, the Saturday was not an important for the Romans. No, that is not. Saturday was only importance for the Jews. Of course, even now, Saturday is the Sabbath day for them. It is,
Which actually starts sundown on Friday to sundown on Saturday.
yes. So, no change for that. It's even now it is so. But because Christians, as a new people, new covenant people, and for them, Christ's death and resurrection is the most important, what's called salvific event, and the resurrection happened on Sunday. The Christians began to celebrate the most important liturgical day as Sunday. And in the Roman Empire, the whole of Roman Empire, Saturday was not a holiday. Never. No. The Sabbath was only importance for the Jews. That's all.
Think of it as the Jews, it's God's day. The Christians, it's Christ's day.
Yeah.
Saturday, Sunday. They're not exclusive of one another, other than the fact that Christians celebrate Sunday.
And interestingly, one thing more, and there was no common day holiday in the Roman Empire.
Yeah, so that's even before Constantine.
No, I'm going to say that. That is, there was no common day as Saturday or Sunday as a holiday in the whole Roman Empire. There was no such a day. The Jews made it Sabbath a holiday for them. That's all.
Because it's in the Bible.
Yes.
Were they always called Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, even back then?
No.
No, Sunday, starting Sunday.
No, but in the times of the Old Testament, was it called a Monday? Is that what Monday was called, Monday?
No.
So that should explain to us that the seventh day, when he says he created the world in 7 days, they didn't have a name. He just specified that you need one day to...
But Jews had their own calendar, and they said, that the seventh day is a Sabbath day for them.
Anybody that wants a refresher on the calendar, I think you did a couple of classes. Is that correct? You did a couple of classes?
Yeah, yes.
So y'all go to the website, which I'll put up there in a few minutes. Y'all can review. And he explained everything about the Jewish calendar, the Gregorian calendar.
Yeah, he did the months.
Yeah, the months.
I don't think we went over the dates.
I think even the days, just said it, the days are simply human-made, no? There is nothing special about, the 7th day. It's only a kind of our, arbitrary understanding of 7th day. There is nothing special about it. We can make it 8 days, no?
Actually, a little bit of linguistic trivia.
Yeah.
In English, Thursday and Friday originate their names from the names of two Norse gods, Thor and Frida. So, English is...
And Sunday is also sun.
Yeah.
It is sun god. So dedicated to sun god. Yes.
We changed it to S-O-N.
Son God, not the Son of God.
Okay. Let us come back. Let us come back again. So the third section is about, the second was the Sabbath. The third section is called marriage laws. Marriage. Marriage laws. See how, even that there is a reference, you just how to, if you give a what's called a something, you can just leave the, it was so very loose in the Israel tradition, the marriage, divorce, or just to leave the wife. That was very loose, very not very strict. That's why even there's a reference in the Bible, because of your hardness of heart, Moses allowed you to just divorce. Like that, So there was this is the third section is marriage. Then fourth section is the criminal and civil legislations. The criminal and criminal and civil. Yeah.
So do the Jews still have divorce?
Yes.
But we don't.
Yeah, we don't have it.
Jesus' son did that.
You went to 3 to 6?
For
No, this is 4. Last time also I had that's a little problem with 6 and 4. So this is the fourth. The fifth one is about the ritual slaughter. Ritual slaughter. What do you mean by? That means what all the animals you can eat, what all the animals you cannot eat, how to kill, and for example, the Jews cannot eat in the blood. It's prohibited. So it's all come from in this section.
Or meat from on pure animals, right?
Yeah.
They consider, I think, pig.
Yeah, pig is not allowed.
But these, we refer to these also as the kosher dietary laws.
Yes, yeah, but these are all already, this is in Bible story. These are all mentioned in the Bible. So all these are from Bible. From that means the Old Testament. And the last one is, the sixth one is called, ceremonial purity. Ceremonial. Ceremonial. Crime. I just. Ceremonial purity. Okay. That is the idea. The best tip. Very, very easy. Okay.
Any questions?
So, the ceremonial purity. That means, what is ceremonial purity? How many times you have to wash your hands? For I heard a very beautiful story. There was a Jewish rabbi who was, for some reason he was in prison. So and he began to develop dehydration. So they gave him medicine and things like that, and there was no good at all. So and the prison guard, who was thinking, what happens this man? We are giving all the medicines and he is developing more and more dehydration. What happened? So he began to watch him from behind. What is going on? So what he was doing is, so he was given always, of course, food and water. And before eating the food, they have so many ceremonies, the washing of the hand and all those things. When all the ceremonies of this washing of hands finished, there is no more water to drink. Always that happened, and he began to dehydration.
All these laws that were in the Bible, they were not very specific.
No.
So they made it specific, and they add all these burdens to the people.
Not only burdens are going to come. Not yet even these are all from Bible. These are specifically mentioned in Bible in various parts, in 5 books. Especially you can see, for example, in Deuteronomy and Numbers and Leviticus, these 3 books contain most of these laws. So many laws. So all these are categorized and given, this all collected under the name Mishnah. Okay? These are all in Bible. These are not yet, it can be what we call a burden. No, not yet. That is going to come. Now, here comes the next development. These were already in use when Jesus was born. Already there was. All these things were there. Now, the next stage, what we call is, people or the rabbis began to interpret these laws. So this is the codification of the law. The teachers of the Israel began to interpret it. And their interpretation, there were, so many people, so many rabbis began to interpret. Some of them, very liberal. Some of them are very, very traditional and conservative. And you see, these, according to the nature of the interpretation of a specific rabbi, began to appear so many, what we call the interpretations of this Bible and of the Mishnah. And these are called Talmud. So these are the laws. Here comes all the burdens. Some of the people, so many, began to interpret, for example, take the case of a Sabbath. That's very easy to understand. Sabbath laws. So, for example, you cannot work on Sabbath. Okay? That is the law. One cannot work. Now comes the interpretation of work. how much you can work. So eating is going to be work. So cooking is going to be work. So walking to the temple is going to be work. So, but some of them are going to interpret yes or no. According
When
to.
a miracle was considered a work,
So
that's what
see,
Jesus was doing.
so for example, if how much the what's called weight one can take on a Sabbath day. So began to specify. Some of them said, for example, 5 pounds. I'm just taking 5. That's not, there are so many interpretations. Some of them said, no, only 3. Even some of them said, no, only the food. How much food you can eat? So, that much you can take only. You understand the difference? So, for example, if some rabbi put my food as a standard, then you will be all starving. No? You did not get it?
We were all guilty.
See, so these are the ways they began to interpret.
You just said something very important, that we were all guilty.
Yeah.
That was the function of the law, is to show us that we were all guilty.
See, now comes, so these interpretations, some of them, they began to impose. That means these interpretations, some of them they, not some, these people, some of the, for example, some of the laws of the church, and that is interpreted, some of them interpret in a very, what's called, liberal way, some others not. And accordingly impose. For example, see, we have this is also, I'm just referring the church laws, our church law. Just a digression, I'm saying. For example, in the Catholic Church, there is no divorce. You know that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, no divorce. But what we have is called annulment. So there are certain laws, that bind, that is, based on these things, annulment is granted. And these basic, things, that could be interpreted either very strictly or very liberally.
Everybody can have an annulment, just like everybody gets a divorce.
Yes.
Or it can be real strict.
See, that is the way. For example, a man having a little problem, what do we call, having what we call, the mental problem of a man.
Mental health.
Yeah, mental health is not sound when he was, getting married. He could be granted annulment. So, I can interpret this mental health. If I interpret it very loosely, any behavioral problems could be interpreted as mental health problems. As a very loose man. Or if somebody is very strict, he can interpret, no, this is only what we call this. And so mental health is a very loose term that could be interpreted either very strictly or very broadly. Like that, anything, for example, as I said, in work, that could be easily interpreted in these ways. And there were many, many laws interpreted. That's why Jesus at that time, he was striking on this. You, the Pharisees, you scribes, you interpret the law this way and make burdens on the people, and you are really burdening the people.
So if people were found guilty of breaking any of the
Yes.
laws, were they punished?
They had, of course. For example, there is a very clear, for example, there is criminal and civil laws, for example, in which there was a course, if a woman was found guilty of adultery. And no woman can commit adultery alone. And man is exempt.
Blasphemy. Crucifixion.
They would only show the woman, not the man.
No, that's why I say only the law was, that means a woman was found guilty of adultery should be punished by death.
Because the man would also be...
Man, no, there is no mention of man.
You gotta remember that we didn't have any female scribes, Pharisees and stuff. It's all men that are running the country, so it's those bad women, but we can do those bad things. Pretty
And
easy, right?
see, and a woman cannot do an adultery by alone, no, without a man. And man was exempt. So that was, of course, that was a patriarchal society, and they made the laws.
So the blasphemy is...
Blasphemy, for example, how loosely one can interpret blasphemy, no? Anything could be interpreted as blasphemy.
So they accuse Jesus of that.
And blasphemy is punishable by death. Jewish law. And Jews had, these are their criminal and civil laws, but they had no power to execute a man. Why at that time and time of Jesus? Because they were under the Roman law. That's why they say, you take him and you give the punishment according to your law. Then they were arguing, no, we have no power to execute a man, no? They were asking to execute Jesus.
Let somebody else do the dirty work.
Well, yeah, because that was actually, according to Jewish law, they did it. Especially for what they were accusing him of blasphemy. But they were actually...
They weren't autonomous.
You want to get rid of him.
Yeah, they did according to the Jewish law, but that should be, that should be sanctioned by the law, that means the state law. This is a very interesting thing,
Because I asked the rabbi why, those 7 books that are in the Catholic Bible used to be in the and were removed. And what he explained to me is, first of all, these were the only books not written in Hebrew. He said, but the other thing is, because at the time of Maccabees, the Hasmoneans were very good, but by the time of Jesus, they had been so infiltrated by the Hellenists, they were cooperating with the Gentile, they were selling out to them, in other words,
Because, this happened because the infiltration, why? Because, already before that, there was already what's called, the diaspora community became very strong. Mm-hmm. In Rome, in Alexandria, Antioch, all these places, the real, Jewish community outside Jerusalem or outside Palestine is called diaspora community. And they became very strong, and they became, what we call better studied, than the Jerusalem community, which became what we call very ritualistic. The Jerusalem community, because there was the temple, and they had no real centers of learning, what they were following only ritualism. When Jesus was born, it was mainly ritualism, while on the outside of the Palestinian community, there were really good what's called the diaspora community, which really began because they have no temple, so they concentrated more on studies and philosophy. And at that time, which was the philosophy? It was the Hellenistic philosophy already. And they became, for example, there are great authors like Josephus, Philo. All these people are, Jews. Okay. Anything? Okay, these are Mishnah and Talmud. Do you understand? So these are because, and these problems, they were existing when Jesus was born, and when he started the public life. And according to the vision or attitude of Jew, there were many what's called groups among the Israelites. For example, one group we call, for example, it is the Pharisees. The Pharisees looked the law literally. What is written, the law, it has to be exactly as it is written. And therefore, very strong when Jesus was born. And during it was the time of really very, very strong they were, the Pharisees. Another group was what we call Sadducees. We have to understand the Sadducees, no? And these people were mainly the rationalistic people. Rationalistic. It means, they were more, influenced by the what's called the Hellenistic philosophy or things like that. And they did not believe in the life after death. These Pharisees, Sadducees, they were really what we call rationalistic people.
St. Paul used them.
Yeah, St. Paul was a Pharisee. And he really was a very strong Pharisee. And the Sadducees, mostly the temple managers were the Sadducees. Temple managers.
Were the Sadducees?
Sadducees. And really, the death of Jesus, the most important cause of the, who were the responsible mainly, it was Sadducees. And the people, mainly the temple managers, because Jesus was so angry with the temple management. And that determined almost his death. Of course, all other contributed, and very strongly the Sadducees were, because they were the powerful people, they were the rich people, they were, even though the number was, not so great as large as Pharisees, but Sadducees, they were the what we call the influential people, the powerful, rich people among the Jewish community. These are, but the intellectuals. Then another group we call, the zealots. What do you mean by zealot? Simon the Zealot?
Nationalists.
Nationalist. Zealous, no? They were so zealous about to re-establish what we call the kingdom of Israel, and they recourse to even to force or arms, revolution.
Rebels.
The rebels. Yes. So even they were advocating by killing, and Barabbas was one of them. It was Barabbas. He was, of course, he was really this Barabbas. He was not simply a thief taking people. No, he was really one among these zealots who robbed these people. It was to show his resentment mostly, and killed and tried to get all these the Roman people. When he gets a chance, he did it always. And there was a beautiful movie on Barabbas.
But Father, when you talk about the laws and all that, and we're talking about the people interpreted like this and that, that's the law of Moses. That's when Moses went up to the mountain to get the law for
that is the Ten Commandments.
People, it's just, but there was more than just 10 commandments.
There are in the Bible. There are.
It's just something akin to our Constitution, where as time goes by, people start to interpret it differently than the original intent.
The problem, that's everywhere. For example, I am the only God, and you should not have another God. Okay? If they say, so that's very clear, but at the same time vague. But all the things that has to be connected with that. There are several questions, for the people.
What do you mean by God?
Well, one of the conflicts was, all right, blasphemy is punishable by death.
Which are blasphemies.
But you shall not murder, nor shall you take vengeance. So they had to figure out how to structure the law so a death penalty could be executed, but guaranteeing that it was not murder or was not vengeance. Yeah.
These 10 commandments are, if we are going to be ruled by by constitution alone, then it would be chaotic.
Yeah.
So we need more clarifications, and not only the constitution was written maybe 200 years ago, no?
For us, yeah. 1776.
So more than 200 years ago, and the atmosphere at that time, for example, was not. Now it is changed. For example, if there is no mention about in the constitution, for example, what we call the cyber crimes. Because why? At that time there was no cyber crimes. They could not even foresee that. Now there are mostly these cyber crimes are the most things now. So they have to give additional interpretations or additional rules. But these are all based on some constitutional rights, no? What is that?
Right to your personal property.
Yes, because these are, for example, personal property. So based on that, more clarifications and maybe more what we call, clarity and things like that it should be. So how many years one should have a kind of personal properties, this kind of how many years one can own it. These are very practical things, That's why that every time we have.
Father, is canon law, Father, what?
It is so. It's almost like this.
When is it?
We cannot simply say the canon law exactly when it was started. What we can say is the last publication of the canon law. Even that we have to say now differences. There is the canon law for the Latin Church. There is the code of canon law for the Oriental churches.
So is annulment, Father, considered a canon law?
Yeah, annulment is considered a canon law, and they are different. For example, there are many laws which are not, they are not similar to the Latin canon law and for the Oriental canon law. They are different. For example, there are so many differences in that. That's why I'm taking all these things, because why the church? There are different churches. Otherwise, we won't understand. We know that only canon law. We think that is only one canon law. No. We have canon law. When you say there is the what we call Codex Juris Canonici, that is called the Latin canon law. Codex Juris Canonici. So this canon law is for all world of the Latin Church, and each regional Episcopal Commission, again make laws for specific countries. For example, there will be, based on this book, there will be additional laws by the United States, by Philippines, by Mexican Bishops' Conference, the Philippine Bishops' Conference. They will have additional laws. Understand? And the third one there will be diocesan laws. But one thing is important: the diocesan law should not be contradicting the what's called the regional or the bishops' conference laws. It should not contradict the church law. Understand? So these are small things. But for the annulment, it's not all those things. But for example, for the celebration of this Eucharist or celebration of these things, small things, there can be differences. For example, I was in Lincoln Diocese in Nebraska. There it is a diocesan law in the celebration of the Holy Eucharist that the chalice should be metal chalice. No other chalice could be used. either of what's called wood or stone or things. It should be metal chalice. That's a law. Why? I don't know.
Metal
We used
was
to
not
have,
allowed any kind of germ.
I don't know why the reason is that. That's a diocesan law. When I celebrated Mass there, I think maybe 10 years ago, there was the law, it was so. It is written in the sacristy. It said that. It's a simple, the diocesan law. That is not, binding to the Diocese of Brownsville. No. Understand?
It was convenient for that diocese.
Yes, that's all.
Or make conform with the local health
Yeah,
regulations.
maybe that. That's why it's but what is the law of the church? It should be chalice. That is the law, maybe. And what kind of chalice is like this, So these are the simple laws. I just wanted to see the differences. Okay, and we have to finish it. These laws, I told you, Sadducees, then Zealots, I told you, the Zealots. Then there is what we call scribes. Who are these people? Scribes. These are the people who write, And they are mostly, interpret, they are related with the law, what's called the law.
The ones that were considered the students of the law.
Yeah, I think they were, who were related with the law. These are the scribes. Then there is what's called, the lawyers, These are the people, official interpreters of the law. These are with the law. Then there is another small community which is called Essene. Essene community, that's not very clearly said in Bible, but in Qumran scrolls, we understand there was a group of, the community which was living together, kind of a religious congregation like. They were the people who saw the law, not literally, but spirit of the law. They did not really interpret the law as a literal interpretation, but a spirit of the law. These called the Essene group. Then another group was Hasidians. The Hasmonean dynasty was the one, And the people, they wanted to establish the Hasmonean dynasty at that time again. But that was a very, very small group of people. So then very strong. Another thing is that really made the mentality of the people was Jewish diaspora. What do you mean by Jewish diaspora? A group of people outside the Palestinian community of Jewish group, that's called diaspora group. Many diaspora groups were spreading. Even in India, there existed a diaspora group. Started from just after the 70s, destruction of the temple, there was a diaspora group of people in India. Far India, there was a Jewish group. Even now, we have all of them, migrated to now Palestine, but the synagogues and their cemeteries are all over there. There are so many groups of people there in India. And Rome, already these, the St. Peter and, all these people came to Rome. The Christians, first Christians were mainly the Jewish Christians, even in Rome. In many of the, Alexandria, there was a very strong group of diaspora community, Jewish people. These diaspora communities, speciality was, they are much more open to learning, liberal in interpretation of the law, and much more, maybe because they were influenced by, all these pagan philosophy and cultural things. While in the Palestinian community was very much, related with their ritualism. And Jesus was always referring to who? The ritualistic community of Jerusalem. The Pharisees and scribes and all these people, they were very, very ritual. They were concerned only with the ritualism.
He mentioned the elders a lot.
The leaders, that means the high priest and the Sanhedrin people, the Sanhedrin, that was the community of the governance of the people. I think there were 60 members constituted the Sanhedrin. That was the supreme authority of the Jewish people. And it was presided over by what's called the high priest. At that time, Caiaphas was the high priest, and before him was Annas, was the high priest. So these people, they were the powerful people. It was a kind of a theocracy for them. So this is something about, and one more thing, just with that, we will finish and then start with the real, just how started the church. One thing, in the Roman Empire, the thing was entirely different. The Roman Empire, it was, polytheism was the running. Polytheism was strength. Many gods. And most problematic thing was the emperor cult. What do you mean by emperor cult? Emperor was considered to be a god, incarnation of God. And they were all asked for the emperor worship. And it had why it was very problematic, because that idea was linked with the nationalism. If you don't do the emperor cult, that means you are a treason. Now you are an anti-national. So these are some of the background in which Christ was born, and he became, after his death, we all know that, how with the 12 apostles began the church. That would be taken next week. So we will start. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.